Pay close attention. What you're about to see is Bible prophecy being fulfilled.
Welcome to another edition of YPN News, bringing you news as it relates to Bible prophecy and foretold by Israel Hawkins. Well, Jeff, we've got more of the coronavirus in the news. Of course, it's continuing to pick up steam as it makes its way from China through several different countries now. Trump unveiling his Middle East peace plan, that long-awaited revelation there. And Syria, of course, is teetering on the brink of destruction. Sadly, for the people in that particular part of the world, they're suffering the most, not so much the leaders. But first, we're going to start off with this latest strain of coronavirus that's affecting the globe. It's related, of course, to the common cold and the SARS virus. There is no known cure or vaccine for the coronavirus. Experts believe that it has passed from animals to humans from a meat market in Wuhan province in China, and that it originated in bats. Researchers in China have already sequenced the genetics, allowing for other researchers around the world to work on cures or vaccines for the virus. Researchers in Australia have created a lab-grown version of the virus, while others are showing promising results with the use of drugs used to treat HIV. Well, although the World Health Organization is downplaying any breakthroughs as a viable option to the virus at this point.
Well, some vaccine producers are hoping for human trial within 3 months. Now, a long time to those suffering with the illness, but a short time in regards to research, because coming up with a vaccine that's suitable for human trials usually takes years. So, a couple months is a long time, but very fast considering.
That's right. Well, we mentioned that scientists speculate that the virus originated from meats sold at a market in Wuhan. Well, take a look at this next video to see just what type of things are sold at those markets to get an idea of the kind of meats that could naturally be carrying certain viruses that have, of course, affected humans now and in the past.
Today we're visiting one of Asia's most extreme markets. The concept of normal here may be very different from your own, but I'm not traveling here to condemn the local way of life. I'm here to learn more about the Minahasan people of North Sulawesi.
Can I ask you, how do you prepare your bat?
Locals here are as playful and jovial as any other market I've been to in Asia.
Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you.
But even for me, someone who thought he had seen it all, this place was tough to take in.
This is my first time in this market. I noticed here a lot of people eating dog. Why do people like dog? I was like, what kind of fruit is this? It has a tail. Is it okay if we film your animals?
Boleh.
Oh, she posed.
Oh, yeah, she posed.
There's a bamboo. Is it bamboo?
That's a bamboo.
They skewered the rat through its entire body, and it looks like they roasted it a bit.
Yeah.
At least they got the hairs off. I'm gonna touch its body. How much is a rat?
Berapa harganya? 25,000.
25. Is she charging me the foreigner rat price?
No, no.
Everyone pays that.
Yes.
Okay. Where do you get these rats?
They got it from the forest, from the woods.
Why do you sell rats? I'm so curious.
Dia nanya ini sih, kenapa jualnya tikus gitu, nggak jual kayak buah-buah. She's just looking for money for a living, she said.
So this is just what was most viable for her. She's like, I know how to catch rats. I can catch them, cook them, and sell them.
She said like she's taking a bit of profit from selling their rats. So
there's no such thing as taboo here. If you're squeamish or sensitive, I suggest you stop watching right now.
We're headed to the meat market right now. What am I gonna expect to see? You can see he's kind of butchering a little bit the bat. They keep most of the body intact. So he just does a few quick cuts and he just pulls out the bowels.
yeah, and they burn it so that their skin, their fur is taken away.
I mean, the stench in here is just burnt animal hair. The smell is a little disconcerting. It's not the best smell.
The cuisine in this region is like nothing I've seen before.
Why is he roasting the wings?
Kenapa dibakar ya? Oh, a lot of furs in the wing area. That's why he has to burn it.
So we have to get the fur off of the wing too.
And the odd selection of menu items here is the result of the Mini Hassan people never fully becoming an agricultural society.
Jesus! Oh! That's so huge. How much does this one cost?
60,000.
Without farm-raised animals, the meat here is largely hunted and caught in the wild.
Have you ever had bat?
Yes, of course.
You have? What do you mean, of course?
Of course, it's common food here.
He's like, I don't eat rat. It's like, have you had bat? Of course.
So instead of pork, there's wild boar.
Check this out. He's got the flamethrower.
That's a boar.
Oh, so this one is the boar. Not only are they selling bat, but over here they have boar.
Yes.
The boar is a wild pig, basically, right?
Yeah, so
And instead of beef, I guess there's bat meat.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little overwhelmed right now.
okay.
I see there's a lot of different interesting stuff here. Let's keep moving. Yeah?
All right.
Look at this old school kind of scale. This much steak is how much?
100,000.
It's $7. This is a huge python. Can I ask, how long have you been working in here doing this?
30 years.
30 years. So people can just come up here, chop off a piece and take it home, huh?
Yes.
You're selling python, you're selling boar, just
Well,
those two?
Sometimes they have monkey.
Within the last year, some vendors were still selling macaque monkeys. Because of education, government intervention, and a possible 5-year jail sentence, it seems to be a thing of the past.
So the monkey is prohibited now.
By law.
By law, yeah. So the monkey is prohibited now.
By law.
By law, yeah.
Before leaving, I wanted to hear from a local about some of the more controversial fare.
This is my first time in this market. I noticed here a lot of people eating dog. Why do people like dog?
Itu dagingnya enak.
Dagingnya enak.
Dagingnya enak. Iya.
He said it tastes quite good.
I haven't seen anywhere in the world people are eating cat. And there's actually people eating cat here too.
He said dogs, cats, and rats all
Kan
taste good.
tidak berlemak gitu.
And they don't have a lot of fats.
Is there any animal you think it's just not okay to eat?
Ada nggak kira-kira binatang apa yang nggak dimakan?
Semuanya rupa-rupanya dimakan.
Semuanya dimakan.
Huh?
So they just eat everything here.
Just everything.
Yeah.
Yang di darat semua dimakan, kecuali kereta api. Yang udara semua dimakan, kecuali pesawat terbang.
He said everything on land can be eaten except the train.
Well, it's interesting. He said that pretty much anything it's on land can be eaten except the train. Science has shown us in times past that many different species of animals have certain bugs or parasites that are beneficial somewhat to the animals, but once humans consume them, it shows to have detrimental effects, and that's apparently what we see taking place with the coronavirus.
Right. I think I'll stick with beef and chicken.
Yeah. All right.
Well, President Trump gave the world a little something to chew on with his unveiling of his Middle East peace plan. Now, we know that before he unveiled the financial end of the deal, and that was basically what he would present to the Palestinians for the financial portion. Right. But this was the rest of it that he had not yet unveiled. So let's take a look at this presentation on what President Trump had to say.
During my trip to Israel, I also met with Palestinian President Abbas in Bethlehem. I was saddened by the fate of the Palestinian people. They deserve a far better life. They deserve the chance to achieve their extraordinary potential. Palestinians have been trapped in a cycle of terrorism, poverty, and violence, exploited by those seeking to use them as pawns to advance terrorism and extremism. I returned from my visit determined to find a constructive path, and it's got to be a very powerful path forward in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. To further this effort, I also met with President Abbas at the White House. Forging peace between Israelis and Palestinians may be the most difficult challenge of all. All prior administrations, from President Lyndon Johnson, have tried and bitterly failed. But I was not elected to do small things or shy away from big problems. That is why our proposal provides precise technical solutions to make Israelis, Palestinians, and the region safer and much more prosperous. My vision presents a win-win opportunity for both sides, a realistic two-state solution that resolves the risk of Palestinian statehood to Israel's security. Today, Israel has taken a giant step toward peace. Yesterday, Prime Minister Netanyahu informed me that he is willing to endorse the vision as the basis for direct negotiations. And I will say the general also endorsed, and very strongly, with the Palestinians, a historic breakthrough. This is the first time Israel has authorized the release of a conceptual map illustrating the territorial compromises it's willing to make for the cause of peace, and they've gone a long way. This is an unprecedented and highly significant development. And Bibi, we have a lot of powerful people in this room, a lot of the people that can help make it work, so that's quite a thunderous applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. We will form a joint committee with Israel to convert the conceptual map into a more detailed and calibrated rendering so that recognition can be immediately achieved. We will also work to create a contiguous territory within the future Palestinian state for when the conditions for statehood are met, including the firm rejection of terrorism. Under this vision, Jerusalem will remain Israel's undivided, very important, undivided capital. But that's no big deal, because I've already done that for you, right? But that's no big deal, because I've already done that for you, right? We've already done that, but that's okay. It's going to remain that way. And the United States will recognize Israeli sovereignty over the territory that my vision provides to be part of the state of Israel. Very important. And crucially, the proposed transition to a two-state solution will present no incremental security risk to the state of Israel. Peace requires compromise, but we will never ask Israel to compromise its security. Can't do that. As everyone knows, I have done a lot for Israel, moving the United States Embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Golan Heights, and frankly, perhaps most importantly, getting out of the terrible Iran nuclear deal. There's a lot of spirit in this room. It's true. You don't see it often. You don't see it often. Therefore, it is only reasonable that I have to do a lot for the Palestinians, or it just wouldn't be fair. Now, don't clap for that, okay? But it's true. It wouldn't be fair. I want this deal to be a great deal for the Palestinians. It has to be. Today's agreement is a historic opportunity for the Palestinians to finally achieve an independent state of their very own. After 70 years of little progress, this could be the last opportunity they will ever have, and last for a lot of reasons. We'll never have a team like we have right now. And they're all great deal makers, and they also understand the other side, and they want the other side to do well, because that's the sign of a great deal, and they understand that. And I just appreciate all of the hard work you put in, and so many of your other friends, and of course our great Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. The Palestinian people have grown distrustful after years of unfulfilled promises. So true. Yet I know they are ready to escape their tragic past and realize a great destiny. But we must break free of yesterday's failed approaches. This map will more than double the Palestinian territory and provide a Palestinian capital in eastern Jerusalem, where America will proudly open an embassy. This map will more than double the Palestinian territory and provide a Palestinian capital in eastern Jerusalem, where America will proudly open an embassy. Israel will work closely with a wonderful person, a wonderful man, the King of Jordan, to ensure that the status quo of the Temple Mount is preserved and strong measures are taken to ensure that all Muslims who wish to visit peacefully and pray at the Al-Aqsa Mosque will be able to do so. This is a major statement. This is of major importance. And at the same time, our vision will deliver massive commercial investment of $50 billion into the new Palestinian state. You have many, many countries that want to partake in this. You have many, many countries that want to partake in this. To ensure a successful Palestinian state, we are asking the Palestinians to meet the challenges of peaceful coexistence. This includes adopting basic laws enshrining human rights, protecting against financial and political corruption, stopping the malign activities of Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and other enemies of peace, ending the incitement of hatred against Israel, so important, and permanently halting the financial compensation to terrorists. And perhaps most importantly, my vision gives the Palestinians the time needed to rise up and meet the challenges of statehood. I sent a letter today to President Abbas. I explained to him that the territory allocated for his new state will remain open and undeveloped for a period of 4 years. During this time, Palestinians can use all appropriate deliberation to study the deal, negotiate with Israel, achieve the criteria for statehood, and become a truly independent and wonderful state. President Abbas, I want you to know that if you choose the path to peace, America and many other countries, we will be there. We will be there to help you in so many different ways. And we will be there every step of the way. We will be there to help.
Well, I guess we'll see what the reception from the Palestinians in regards to this portion of the unveiling of the plan will bring forth. We know that in the past, in regards to what you were saying regarding the financial part of it, they weren't 100% on board with that. It seems like they're probably not going to be totally 100% on board with this end of it as well. Right. In fact, the Palestinians are not all too pleased with the U.S.'s plan for the Middle East peace process. Riyad Mansour, the Palestinian ambassador to the UN, said regarding the plan, he said, to drag us to the negotiation or to negotiate after they steal another 40% of the occupied West Bank and to negotiate over 4 years the details of what's left over. He said it's a recipe for the destruction of the rights of the Palestinian people, and it will not fly. It is not acceptable, and those who think that the Palestinian people will evaporate, he said, they will not.
Well, the UN Secretary General spokesman, Stéphane Dujarric, said, we've seen the announcement of the plan, and we're not going to get into that which should be left for others to decide, notably member states themselves. Now, the Secretary General gave a written statement but stopped short of giving an opinion of Trump's plan.
Now, the current Arab member of the UN Security Council, which is Tunisia, is preparing a draft resolution condemning the Trump plan, and if it is voted on, the U.S. is bound as a permanent member to use its veto power. However, the Palestinians are hoping they'll be isolated with all the other members of the Security Council, with whether supporting them or abstaining.
Well, we're now going to go to our field correspondent, Larry McGee, who has been covering several stories for us. The first one is some low-yield suitcase nukes that are going to be placed on submarines. And, Katan, that's kind of strange to have a low-yield nuclear device in the same sentence, because when you think nuclear, you actually think pretty big. So Larry McGee has the details. Larry, what can you tell us about these low-yield nukes?
Whenever there is a weapon of war created, ultimately there is a weapon of war used. The truthfulness of that statement is an easily supported historical fact, so that there are justified fears and concerns with regard to the new arms race taking place among the world's leading nations, involving weapons which have the ability to cremate humanity and incinerate the globe. America is announcing an addition to its arsenal of just such a weapon, a submarine-based nuke that it says is less destructive. As opposed to being a great thing, however, analysts say that the weapon will more likely be used for that reason and potentially ignite global nuclear warfare. The device was recently loaded onto the USS Tennessee, which clandestinely patrols the waters of the Atlantic, loaded down with hundreds of kilotons of destructive power. U.S. spokesmen are reverting back to the MAD doctrine in support of the move, which they say will function as a deterrent to nations like Russia. Critics say that the weapons could be used to confront more than just Moscow, however, and might introduce an element of desensitization resulting in quicker usage based on a rationalized idea of reduced casualties. All eyes are watching now to see how the global community responds to the U.S.'s latest move, as the brinksmanship taking place between the planet's leading powers moves the world closer and closer to nuclear war. The war in Syria is still raging and the blood is still pouring in Idlib as Damascus heightens its efforts to eliminate insurgents in its northwestern provinces with the aid of Moscow. In strengthening its position in the Euphrates, however, Russia is working to closen ties with several Mideast nations, one of which is Syria, but another is Turkey, who is currently at odds with Damascus. The increase in hostilities between the two has reportedly prompted President Erdogan to advise President Putin to get a hold of President Assad, and has everyone wondering whether or not we might be witnessing the disintegration of yet another so-called alliance. For YPN News, I'm Larry McGee. Time, Jeff. Back to you.
Be interesting to see what President Putin's reaction is to that, because President Putin and President Assad have been working pretty closely. They've had the meetings, so it's going to be interesting as President Erdogan of Turkey asks Putin to step in to see what exactly President Putin will do.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, due to its 9-year-long civil war, government airstrikes have become normal, something unheard of until now. However, it is a direct military confrontation between Turkey and Syria. A recent attack on Idlib by Syrian government forces caused the loss of Turkish military and civilians alike.
Well, Turkey had sent military reinforcements into the Syrian province to help prevent more bloodshed, but the soldiers came under attack by government airstrikes along with civilians. Now, President Erdogan explained his position and said, "What we see is an aerial assault by regime forces in Idlib, which resulted in 8 people dying, 5 soldiers and 3 civilians. And we concluded that it was unacceptable and retaliation was carried out." Now, Turkish forces retaliated by shelling a dozen Syrian army targets in the region.
The UN has expressed deep concern over the situation between the two Middle Eastern countries. UN Secretary General spokesman Stefan Dujarric made this statement. "This escalation underscores yet again the threat to regional and international peace and security caused by the ongoing conflict in Syria. We also remain deeply concerned by the continuing reports of civilian casualties, large-scale displacement of civilians as well."
Well, the situation is getting desperate as almost 1 million people are moving towards Turkey's borders in hopes of escaping the never-ending bombing campaign by the Syrian government. Now, Syria's goal is to reclaim its towns and villages in the Idlib and Aleppo provinces, and in doing so, it is destroying neighborhoods and leaving devastated families homeless for another winter in Syria's harsh climate.
Yeah, that's sad. Well, over the past few weeks, the Syrian government forces have been trying to isolate the rebels by securing 2 major highways which link major cities already under government control. The M4 highway, which runs from west to east, and the M5 highway running north to south. These connect Aleppo to the capital Damascus and the city of Latakia.
Well, the Turkish observation forces, which came under fire, have been there to monitor a ceasefire in Idlib. In hopes of preventing the situation from becoming worse, Russian-backed forces are denying the Turkish soldiers came under fire. Of course, Russia has its own political interests in Syria and therefore seek to help Syria rid itself of rebel fighters in the country. However, the continuous indiscriminate airstrikes come with dangerous consequences and, most importantly, tragic loss of human life.
The Syrian capital of Damascus has also come under fire. Sana State News Agency reported an air attack was carried out on Damascus from the Golan Heights, which is currently occupied by Israel. Syria says most of the missiles were intercepted before reaching their targets. However, it has been reported that 23 foreign and Syrian soldiers have been killed near Damascus and the southern Daraa.
Well, the Israeli military made no comments on mass media reports about the attacks on Damascus. Now, last month, the Syrian army said Israeli jets attacked its main air base in Homs province, but its air defense system destroyed those missiles in time. Now, it seems, Katan, that with all this, with the increased boldness with the countries like Israel, Turkey, and Syria, that the world is growing ever closer to the brink of nuclear war. You know, and as we mentioned, some of those that suffer the most are the civilians that are having to flee those areas as they come under constant attack, which hasn't been in the news too much. All those that have been fleeing, but again, here we talked about almost 1 million people that have tried to leave because they need to get out of those areas, and they're pretty much left with nothing. So the loss of human life, you know, and the displacement is just, the numbers are astronomical.
Yeah, and then when you add on top of that what we see taking place with the coronavirus, which of course is not anything new, but it's growing pretty rapidly right now, and it's increasing to a point where it's becoming, some are saying, and the next pandemic, because it's going across the oceans. When you add that on top of what we see with the escalations of the wars taking place, you've just got a recipe for disaster all around on a global scale. And so we need a little bit more than the Middle East plan, the peace plan that President Trump was recently bringing about. We need a global peace plan that will put a stop to what the world is suffering right now in regards to their health, in regards to conflicts between their neighbors and on an international scale, and just a better direction for mankind in general to finally just have peace of mind and healthy bodies. Everybody wants that.
Well, that global peace plan that Katan just mentioned is possible, and one man has been preaching that plan of peace for years. Yisrael Hawkins of the House of Yahweh has been enlightening the world with the message of peace for many, many years now. Now you can learn more about that peace plan, the real peace plan, by contacting the House of Yahweh. When you do, don't forget to request your free copy of the Prophetic Word magazine and monthly newsletter. Both of those are packed full of very informative information that will help you and your family stay safe from the diseases like the coronavirus and also from these wars that are on the brink, as was just reported.
To contact the House of Yahweh, you can write them at the House of Yahweh, P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604. You can call the House of Yahweh at 1-800-613-9494 or visit them on any of their websites by going to Yahweh.com, YisraelHawkins.com, or Yahweh'sBranch.com. You can also visit our website by going to YPNnews.com. You can email the House of Yahweh at info@yahweh.com. And all calls outside the United States, please dial the number on your screen. And of course, don't forget the Yisrael Says and Ask Yisrael program, which are available online that aid you in the study of the Holy Scriptures and understanding Bible prophecy. You can find those by going to YisraelSays.com and AskYisrael.com.
Don't go anywhere. Up next is a man who has the real peace plan, Yisrael Hawkins. From all of us here at YPN News, I'm Jeffrey Heimerman.
And I'm Katan Alexander.
Thanks for watching.